everybody. Welcome back to another EA AirVenture edition of Air Raid Radio. And today we've got Kate Landdeck back with us, and we're super excited. Hi, Kate.
Hey, Kate.
Thanks for joining us today. And we all have our air show aviation gear on today.
Got my air show braids in. I'm all set.
Yeah,
you gotta have the hairstyle for Oshkosh.
I was like, oh, do I go with the full like Oshkosh out, like how I am every day, and maybe people will recognize me more, but then I'd have to wear my dumb hat.
Right.
I think we should do that for the next one. We'll go in full Oshkosh gear. Backpack and a hat.
Be the braids. Be the braids.
I like that idea because my ponytail always gets messed up.
They work.
But yeah, the Oshkosh week of t-shirts is continuing. This is our third show we've done, and every one we have a different.
That's good, right? You've got to wear them, or else it's hard to justify keeping them, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta, right? You've got that special stash.
Yeah, and I was digging through my closet, and I was like, oh man, I've got a lot of t-shirts from Oshkosh. There's no shortage.
I had to wear my WASP one today. The
That's
one that
very good.
And here, I'll show the back, like if I can.
Yeah.
I love that shirt. That's a great shirt.
Yeah, our friend Lena, who did the art on the movie, also designed the back of it, and
very talented.
The idea of using the quote on the front is from Elise Rohr, and that's part of her interview. But we were like, that's such a great just theme of the movie. So
yeah.
If people didn't read it, it says, what does it say again? They said it was not ladylike, and I said too bad.
Yep.
Right. Adam loves that
perfect quote for all of us.
And that's very Elise, right? Yeah. That's very
Adam
Elise.
Adam all the time, and it got something on it the other day, and he's like, no. I got the stain remover out. He's like, my shirt.
Pretty good.
I think he gets excited when ladies and young, like teenage girls, which is gonna sound really weird, they're like,
maybe you don't want to say this.
Yeah, they're like, what? And then he's like, oh, I get to tell them all about the WASP, and I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of the WASP, Kate has just recently written her book. Yes, The Women with the Voice. There you go. It's like, my copy's upstairs because I was reading it last night.
That's right. Oh, good.
Thank you for joining us, Kate. And I guess we're talking about Oshkosh today. That's kind of the theme of the week, is we wanted to have our friends on who we see every week because we're missing them, or see every year and we're missing them. So how many years have you gone to Oshkosh for, Kate? Do you know?
You know, it's been a long time. I started going in 1994. My father-in-law to be, I was engaged, and my father-in-law to be was looking for a way to entertain us on our visit. So the whole Landdeck family went to Oshkosh, and he bought tickets, and we all went. That was when the field was still separated. They used to keep the flight line actually separated, and you had to buy a special ticket to get into that section, right? You could do the exhibits and stuff, but then you had to pay an extra to get, and he paid the extra to get us in there. And that was very, very special. So that was my first Oshkosh in 94. And I went every year since. I've not missed a year, except in 2005, I gave birth right in the middle of, not at Oshkosh.
Wow,
July 22nd, I gave birth. So the doctor wouldn't let me go to the air show. But my memory from that year is the WASP used to all go to the AC/DC club in downtown Oshkosh. Just a kind of great hole-in-the-wall bar, pictures of different aviators all around. It was kind of where all the air show pilots went and things like that. I haven't been in years. I presume it's still there, but the WASP all went to the AC/DC club, and a friend of theirs, Sherry Ringler, very talented artist from Springfield, Ohio, which she called me, and they all cheered, gave me and my daughter a cheer, hurrah. And they all signed Sherry made a little origami airplane, and they all signed it for me. And,
Oh.
so I feel like I wasn't there in 2005, but I was kind of there, I was being represented. Yeah. So, but that's the only year I've missed until now. So, kind of a weird experience.
Yeah.
To not be there.
I mean, it's a good excuse to not go, I suppose.
Yeah, if you're gonna have one, that's
right. I was really upset. I actually missed. I had a ticket that spring to Eileen Collins was commander of the space shuttle, and that year, and the WASP had invited me to go as their guest. She had invited them, and they had an extra. They're like, Kate, come. And they pushed the launch back to like May or something like that. My doctor wouldn't let me. I was so very angry, but it's like, you don't want to drop a baby in the middle of a space shuttle launch. That seems like inappropriate as well. So
I would assume there'd be somebody there who would know how to help.
I would think there'd be somebody. It would have been all right, but
I mean, there's on-site like EMT and
right. That was my argument exactly, but nobody. No Oshkosh or space shuttle launch that year. So. But,
that stinks. But you've mentioned hanging out with the WASP. When did you start? What year did you start kind of being their escort for Oshkosh?
Yeah. I got really lucky. I met my first WASP, Carol Bailey Boskin, in 93. And then we went to Oshkosh in 94, and the WASP had their big tent. They used to be on the West Ramp, which now I think is Boeing Plaza, right? And there's that little building on Boeing Plaza, that little yellow building where all the carts are and all the smart people are. Across the ramp from that, the WASP had a big yellow striped tent. And so I went in there kind of, okay, what can I learn about these women? And they had a lot of books. Shootsy, who I know you all know, Shootsy Reynolds, she ran their stores, and they had a lot of books. So I bought like 3 books, which was hard because you're carrying them around the air show. It seems like a bad idea. So I spent that time, I spent the next couple of years reading those books and doing those things. And then in 96, I was in grad school and had started my oral histories that June. And I went back to Oshkosh, and I was very shy and, dorky. I'm still dorky, but I'm not as shy. But I walked around the tent, and Shootsy used to like to tell the story that, somebody was looking at a book and asking her a question, and she's like, oh, I don't know. And I had read the books backwards and forwards and said, oh, I know right where that is. And I flipped to the page and showed him where it was. And Shootsy said, that was it. You were in, because you knew what you were doing. And, they let me kind of hang out that day. And I came back the next day, and they let me hang out again. And then we used to get like 35 or 40 WASP that would come to Oshkosh. Wow. Yeah, it was incredible in the late 90s through the early 2000s, but especially the late 90s. We would literally get 35 or 45 WASP. Yeah. And they would all scatter and do the air show. They were in their 60s and 70s, and they were so fit, and they would go everywhere, and news crews would come to the tent and interview them. And a friend of ours had a BT-13. She'd park right in front, so they'd all get their picture with it. But everybody had left one afternoon, and Shootsy was the only WASP left in the tent, and I was there with her and kind of chatting with her. And the B-17 Thunderbird, the crew of that plane, came into the tent and said, Shootsy, it's time for your ride. You want to ride? She's like, I can't leave. I've got the apron, the red apron with all the money. And then she looked at me and she said, can you count? I'm like, heck yeah, I can count. So I took her little red apron. The air show was on. Nobody was paying it, coming in the tent anyway. And so she went and she got her first ride in a B-17, and that was it. I was in forever. I got her that flight, and it really just started from there. Ethel Meyer Finley was kind of the one that was in charge of the WASP at Oshkosh. She was the coordinator with them, and started asking when I was coming and things like that. So I worked in the tent a lot. I'd go and I'd do my little oral histories with my little tape recorder with the pop-up microphone.
Yeah.
We'd sit in the corner, and the sound quality is not good, but the words are there.
Right.
And Adam would be horrified at the sound.
That's true, actually, he would be.
Right. Especially the year I interviewed Vi Cowden in the middle of jet days at Oshkosh one year. And so we had to keep pausing because the jets, you could hear them coming, and then we'd have to stop, and they'd go by, and then we'd continue, and so it was a very loud visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started, Ethel was great, where she would, I'm just going on. Is that okay if I just keep going on and on?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We're here to share stories of Oshkosh.
I got, nobody ever asks about these stories, and so I love telling them.
Yeah. Our show has no structure.
Good.
We have no time limits,
so it's good. But I kept coming back year after year. My in-laws live in Beaver Dam and have a little cottage in West Bend, and so I had a free place to stay, and I could come up, poor grad student. But Ethel kept asking, so when are you coming? When are you going to be here? And the way she would set it up, the WASP, the last few years, they've just had like one forum in the museum. And but in the 90s, they'd have 2 forums a day.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah. It's, and if you got the museum, that was great, but most of them were in the forum tents down the road there. And it was fabulous, but she had so many WASP that you couldn't have them all talk at once. So she would assign them, okay, you 5 or 6 WASP are at the 10 o'clock, you 5 or 6 WASP are at the 3 o'clock, and so the WASP all had their little schedule, and Ethel was very bossy. She would make sure they were there. I loved Ethel. She was great. Not everybody loved Ethel, but I did. And she would assign them the parts of the story. Okay, you talk about, how you got into flying, you talk about training, you talk about, flying this plane, you talk about disbandment. And she'd give them all 2 minutes. And if they went over, she would start tapping her,
That's like a producer on set. They're like,
it was exactly, she was definitely a producer. She was definitely the producer. And so, that went on for years. And then she said, Katie, I want you to be the moderator. I want you to step in there.
Wow.
She was getting older and she had macular degeneration. And, she's like, your job is to carry this on when none of us are left. So you need to practice now, and they need to get used to you, and the WASP need to get used to you bossing them a little bit. And you need to, it's like, you never boss a WASP. You all know that. That's the number 1 rule.
Oh, yeah.
You never boss a WASP.
So that was that was the torch passing at that moment.
Yeah, it really was. And it was, where she and I would be there together, and then she would be on the panel. And it kind of transitioned, and then we got fewer and fewer WASP until there were 5 total, and then we haven't had one the last 2 years. We were down to 1.
Yeah.
But those years that we had 2 or 1, I could sit with them and we could have a conversation. And so it was this great transition, and then the last couple of years I've done mine solo. It's been very lonely.
Yeah,
to go from.
We're like,
I know, right? Right? But how lucky am I? I start to feel sad and bad for myself and bad for the world, and then I think, how lucky to have had those years, to have done that and to have built those friendships. I know the lighting's not great, but this banner that's behind me, the big one there, Shutzi gave me when I got my PhD. That was her gift to me, was the banner. Yeah. So, how lucky to have had that be the experience. I walk around Oshkosh now, and I went from, we used to be able to drive at Oshkosh. We used to be able to drive at EAA everywhere. Shutzi would come in with her big van. She'd drive from Pennsylvania full of stuff for the stores, her big white van, park right next to the tent. And then other people would come and park right next to the tent. And nobody ever fussed. and the guys on the west ramp would bring us big jugs of water, and they were so great. But yeah, so we used to just drive everywhere. Ethel would have a cart because Ethel was the busy queen, but we'd just drive everywhere. And then they limited it, so we had to get more carts. And they had other people, the A-team would drive them around in the carts, and then a few people with vans, A-team people would drive them. And then we got a small enough group that they'd give us 2 carts and give me a key,
Yeah, I was mentioning in one of the other interviews we did this week of that you're just like, you'll be standing around and there goes the cart full of the wasps.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Chase them like the ice cream truck, where you're like,
Right.
wait.
People did, and once they realized it was them, they would wave and go crazy, and that was a lot of fun. And then as they got a little bit older, I'd been driving EAA grounds for 20 years by the time they did it, but they finally gave me a all access pass for my car. I've got a big Yukon XL Suburban kind of thing, and they'd let me do that, so it was an air conditioned space for them because they were all getting older. So they do that, and a friend of ours made these big magnets that say WASP of World War II for me to stick on the side of my car.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was like I was driving the Queen, and they'd roll the windows down and wave to people as they went past and everything.
That's awesome.
It was great fun. And then if they didn't want to wave, if they were tired, they'd roll the windows up, and they're kind of
they're like, not now.
We're done. We're gonna drive here. And it was very fun. The EAA has been so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
They first brought the WASP in 1993, and invited. It was Ethel and Carol Bailey Bosca actually were the first 2 WASP who went officially. Several WASP went on their own over the years, but as official guests. And then it just grew from there. So by the time I saw them in '94, they had that big tent already, and just kept going on. And the EAA worked really hard in these last 10 years to make sure that they could come, and supported them, and an escort, a family member to come with them, and getting me the car pass. I don't get the car pass anymore. It's a real bummer.
Right.
It's like, oh, what do you mean? I got to park?
Yeah.
We had the car pass 1 year. And
I'm just a normal person now.
Yeah.
But the EAA was very good to the WASP. Especially the last 10 years. They were just so generous. It was really special.
Yeah, I think my first year at Oshkosh was 2010. And I remember Adam was always like, you should go talk to the WASP. And I was like, like, I am scared. They intimidate me, and I don't know what to say besides like, you're really cool.
Exactly.
But eventually, I think it was maybe the year we premiered Rise Above Tuskegee Airmen that the WASP came by for a screen. I think that year there was like maybe 4 or 5 of them that came in to see it. And
probably.
Then Adam was like, and like pushed me at them, and he's like, you need to talk to them.
Good.
And he's like, she made that movie you just watched. And they were like, really?
Yeah. Adam's pushy in a good way though, right?
Yes. He pushes me out of my comfort zone, because I am not, I'm getting better at being an extrovert, but I'm very much like, I was the shy kid in school. Like, people who see me doing this that grew up with me are probably like, I can't believe that's the same person, because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
So
it's okay to fake being an extrovert. That's many of us do. So
yes, that's true. That's true. Unless you're like my sister. She's very big into that. But what's your favorite thing to do at Oshkosh?
My favorite thing to do, I have traditions that started with the WASP. We would, at least one of the afternoons, I would drive over and get about 18 root beer floats. Right? You'd have to, there's a place right off the field, and you'd have to get a root beer float at least once while you're at Oshkosh.
Awesome.
And then those soft serve ice cream cones.
Yeah.
But I really like, I like going over to the seaplane base and taking a look at the planes over there. You get to see some really, really neat things. And we had some friends that fly in from Rochester that were good friends with Dawn Seymour. I'm not sure if you got to know her, but they come in and they're at the very end of the runway, and they park, and they've got a goose, and they park there on the ground and camp under it. And so that's my favorite thing to do, is to take the tram as far as it'll go and then walk the last bit and sit under the wing of that goose. And you see everybody setting up. It's the best seat for the air show, I think. It's not air show center where it's all loud, and it's all watching everybody get ready for it. And
that's
kind of
cool.
there and have gin and tonic and hang out.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. I don't know if this is a G-rated show. We have 7-Up and enjoy our time.
We just talked on the last episode. We're like, because we were interviewing Amy Spowert from the National Aviation Hall of Fame.
Oh, great.
And she's like, man, you guys bring up drinking a lot. And I was like, it's nice to have a drink.
Right.
Have a cocktail after the day is done, right?
Right. It's the coldest and most refreshing, right?
Absolutely. Especially,
like, I spent all day pounding around on the hot pavement. Like, of course I want to take a shower and have a drink.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Like, it's perfect. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things too, is just to find a cool spot to watch the air show. We've been the last couple years, and I don't want to, nobody's going to go over there anyhow, but we usually hide behind the vintage hangar and the vintage gift shop, because there's like a little meadow there, but it's covered with trees, so you get shade, but you can't necessarily see as much of the air show, but it's more about that it's a nice cool spot to
I think that's a great spot. That's a great spot. And I'll tell you, you asked my favorite thing, and you just reminded me of I like to go on the last day or the second to last day late. When you walk around and you feel bad for all the people that paid full price to get in because half the planes have left, and it's like you should get a discount on the last day.
Oh yeah.
Right. But I like to go, and I take my girls and we get an ice cream cone. I guess I talk a lot about ice cream.
That was also a topic on the other show.
Right. I think you walk so much that it doesn't count, right? There are no calories at EAA. It's a rule.
No. When you do 20,000 steps a day, it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. But we like to get an ice cream cone and walk out to the runway. They're just down from the west ramp where the little EAA kiosk is to buy your ticket. There's a buy your ticket for the car and stuff like that, and there's a little yellow stand of a local dairy, and they've got hard anyway.
I know what you're talking about.
But we walk out and sit as close to the runway as we can and just watch everybody leave. It's fun to just sit there in the grass. It's not an air show. It's just watching all the planes leave, and then you can talk about, hey, this is that kind of plane, and the people often are, kind of feeling melancholy about leaving, and they always look and they wave at you if you wave first, and so it's just kind of a nice, it's a peaceful closure, and you get to see a lot of the planes, and rest on your hiney, and
have a little ice cream.
Yeah, it's like a personal parade if you sit there and they all just go past. And I really enjoyed doing that, especially when my girls were younger. I enjoyed doing that because it was just this special, we got to
I like that. I want to do that now.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah, it's nice. I'll sit there with you. It's a lot of fun, you just sit there and it's like a personal parade, especially if there's, the best timing is if there's storms coming in like 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody's in a rush to leave in the same window. And so, which you never want storms, but it makes the parade better.
It's your experience better.
Right? It's very selfish of me. I didn't fly in.
Sorry to everybody else.
So we're having a little bit of technical issues. We lost Kara, but Kate and I are going to keep talking for a few minutes. We were talking about ice cream and airplanes, which seems to be the theme.
Always, right. I was always amazed that the WASP, they had to have that root beer float. if they were gonna leave the next day, it was like, Katie, we've got to get the root beer float. We've got to get the root beer float. So
Yeah.
we did a lot of searching for the best ice cream on the field and things like that, which, they were all thin and fit, but they had to have that ice cream.
That's so funny.
It was a lot of fun.
But I guess, yeah, I mean, we do the same thing. We, on one of the days, we always have to go to that one ice cream place, and we stand in line for like an hour and we wait for our ice cream.
Right.
So,
Right. It's
are
good.
you catching up with anybody this week during Oshkosh, or like any?
I'm actually, I'm very lucky. The EAA is doing some of their sessions, like and I had been scheduled to do a session, and they invited me to do a session. So I'm going to do that on July 21st. Let me look at what time it will be. So people should look at all of that. At 3:00 on July 21st, I'll be doing my, an EAA presentation. It's an hour and a half, just like they normally are. And I'll have a slideshow with lots of fun pictures and, make that fun. So I think they're really trying hard to do a lot of that type of thing, and you can register to see all those. And I'm actually doing another webinar, an actual webinar with them, August 26th.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's, we're in very strange, unpleasant times, but I love all these new opportunities that, folks like the EAA are doing, where we can be at home and still have the opportunity to, go to EAA sessions and learn from different people and that type of thing. So,
And how many people who haven't been able to get to Oshkosh are now going to be exposed to it, and now maybe next year or the year after they can.
Right. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how many, a lot of bookstores are doing, this type of webinar type of thing, and yeah, EAA. It's like it really kind of democratizes the whole thing. So people who can't afford to go or can't, for health reasons, that's a big commitment to go to EAA, to the air show. It's hot and it's big and it's,
long,
hard. Yeah. So I think my hope is they'll continue to have some sessions that Zoom or virtual in that way for future, because I know there are several WASP who still would come, but it's too far of a trip and it's too much. The heat is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
That they can't. And I know there are other World War II veterans that feel that way. So,
oh yeah,
if they can get on Zoom and that type of thing, that's a question. Though Mickey Bright, who was a regular at EAA for many years, a lot of fun, and a big part of those panels. She's alive and kicking and living in Salt Lake City, and she Zooms in all the time. She Zooms into different podcasts and Zooms into, she did CBS This Morning with me, Zoomed into that. I think she's going to Zoom in to your show as well. She was very enthusiastic to take part in that, and she's just great at the technology. It's like, you're what, 99 or something like that, and she's like, yeah, this is great, and sets it all up herself. She doesn't need any help from anybody. And
oh really?
Yeah, she does it all herself. And I think the CBS people, when I told them that, they were like, oh, does she have help? And I'm like,
She doesn't need
Mickey. She doesn't need any help. She's got it covered. So.
Awesome. And what a great opportunity that she can now participate in these things.
Yeah.
I mean, at 99, like, I don't know that I would travel either. It's really hard on your body.
Yeah. And she, and she's still, sharp and funny and her normal self. And now she steals other people's stories. That was always the big joke among the WASP is, when we'd have those panels, one of them would be talking and the other one would look at her, that's my story. You stole my story. And they all laugh and, Mickey's got a lot of stories to tell. So I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun, talking with her for sure.
We're looking forward to it. So got a lot of cool opportunities coming up.
Good.
I don't know if Kara's going to be able to hop back on. It sounds like she's having internet issues, but is there anything else that you want to
Oh, we could talk for 3 days.
I
but
know we
that's,
could.
right? I'm curious, Amy, what's your favorite thing to do at Oshkosh?
Oh gosh, probably see all of the people. You know, it's
Yeah, that's
one
a better answer than the ice cream, I think. This the people, right?
no, ice cream is good too. I'm lactose intolerant, so like ice
Oh yeah,
cream is not
yeah.
even on my radar usually.
No, but
But
you kind of develop a family up there, right? The once a year people
yeah,
that you go and you
yeah, the
see
once
the
a year
same people.
family, you know, and you don't have to worry about catching up because you just pick right back up where you left off, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't walk 10 feet without running into somebody that you know or that you met last year, and just
Mm-hmm.
that connection with people that I haven't found anywhere else, you know,
Right.
outside of aviation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a small town feel.
Yeah,
You know, it's such a big space. There's so many moving parts, but it really does feel like you're going home
yeah,
every year,
yeah, yeah.
right?
It's always fantastic. We're gonna miss it, but that's why we wanted to do something at least virtually and kind of try to bring a few people together, and
Yeah,
we're encouraging everybody to share their stories with us too on our Facebook page. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I love the work you guys are doing, and I hope the news of all of this gets spread far and wide because I think it's a lot of fun.
thank you. Well,
So
it's great to
thank
interview new people and, you know, having you on and talking about the WASPs, and
Yeah, yeah. Well,
it's
thanks for inviting me. I know, we talked not too long ago, but I always like to be asked, and you guys are fun. So,
yeah, I'm sure we'll have you on again.
well, good. Oh, good, because I like it.
Yeah, like Kara said, you know, there's no real format. We just hang out.
That's good. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thanks so much for your time, Kate.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Bye bye.